been a couple weeks and a lot has happened in the country and a lot to talk about. I don't want to start this episode by talking about what the US has done in Venezuela. I want to talk about something that you all may not know about, and that's the collapse of the Venezuelan society. It used to be the richest country in the Western Hemisphere, if you didn't know. Not a developing country, just straight up rich. More oil than Saudi Arabia, a growing middle class, modern cities and universities, and opportunity galore. Today, over 7 million Venezuelans have fled their own country, and not because of civil war or natural disaster, because their system stopped working. And here's the part Americans usually get wrong. Venezuela did not collapse because of an ideology. It collapsed because its system stopped correcting itself. Most conversations about Venezuela start in the wrong place. They start with labels like socialism and capitalism, sanctions and the US. It's all noise. Here's what actually happened to that country's society. First, power was concentrated at the top. Checks and balances became formalities. Courts followed orders. Elections became theater. Second, economic distortion. Prices were controlled, currency was manipulated, and political loyalty was replacing competence. Businesses didn't fail because they stopped working, it's because the incentives broke. Then they controlled the narrative. Every failure was blamed on outsiders. Critics were labeled as traitors, and reality was renamed as sabotage. And finally, the most important part is the middle class left. Doctors left, engineers left. And it wasn't because they were greedy, it's because their effort no longer led to stability. That's the moment a country truly starts to die. Americans like to look at Venezuela and say, see, that's what happens when you choose the wrong ideology. That's comforting, but it suggests collapse is something that is voted in overnight, and it isn't. Venezuela didn't fall because people believed the wrong thing. It fell because institutions stopped responding to reality. When loyalty matters more than competence, when narrative matters more than results, when power stops being accountable, collapse becomes inevitable, no matter what slogans you use. Here's where people get uncomfortable. Americans hear collapse and picture empty shelves and mass migration. They assume collapse is loud. It's not. Collapse starts quietly. It starts when work stops translating into security, credentials stop translating into opportunity, and rules keep changing, but only for certain people. Collapse starts when the system still exists, but no longer rewards participation. That's when belief erodes, and belief is what holds systems together. And this is where the conversation usually derails with US citizens. Some people say that this could never happen here, and others say we're already there. Both are wrong. The real danger isn't Venezuela-level collapse, it's Venezuela-style denial. The belief that problems are always someone else's fault, criticism equals disloyalty, admitting flaws weakens systems. That mindset doesn't destroy countries overnight. It prevents them from fixing themselves. So let's not look at Venezuela as a prophecy, but more of a case study. A reminder that systems don't fail when people stop believing in them. They fail when the system stops deserving belief. And that's the part Americans should be paying attention to, not because we're Venezuela, but because we're not immune to the same human behaviors. Power protecting itself, narratives outrunning reality, and people doing everything right and still falling behind. This is where the story turns inward. Venezuela shows us what happens when a system collapses openly. The shelves actually empty and the people do leave. The failure is undeniable. But here's a quieter, more uncomfortable question we avoid. What happens when a system doesn't collapse, but quietly stops working for the people who believe in it the most? What happens when an effort no longer guarantees stability, but the myth still tells us it should? That's not Venezuela. That's the American dream question. And that's what we're going to be talking about next week.